Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Burke, founder, CEO, CMO with LJS Advisory. I'm here with the wonderful Tech Bae today to kick off our Women's History Month Spotlight series on female founders. With this series, we are so excited to uh, give the stage to really impactful female founders within the ad tech and marketing space and give them a platform to really share their stories and, most importantly, lessons that they've learned along the way. Being a founder, an entrepreneur is not easy. And many of these women that I'll be speaking to also have day jobs, right? So balancing all of these things as a woman is always a struggle, but these women do it with poise and grace every single day. So we are so excited to learn insights from them. We'll be sharing some kind of key takeaways that I think not only women, but men and really anyone can benefit from, right? If you're trying to build something from the ground up and scale it and turn it into a really powerful platform, these women are the ones you want to speak to. So without further ado, let's go and start introducing our baes. These are the founders of Tech Bae. Brenda, I'll start with you if you want to give a little bit of background on who you are and a little bit about Tech Bae.
Awesome. And thank you, Lauren. Super excited to be here with my co-founder. So by way of introduction, Brenda Salce-Garcia, born and raised in New York, a Westchester implant, a COVID move. Today actually is my first day at Nextroll. So I just recently joined the company as their VP of customer success. So really excited to be celebrating my first day of school, basically, with jumping into this podcast in celebration of International Women's Day. I am a co-founder of Tech Bae. We are almost 9 years old. It's crazy to look back on that. And with that, do you want me to pass it to the next?
Sure, just pass it right around.
I'll do it to Sarah Foss right next to me.
Great, because you're actually further up on the screen, so we don't know where everything goes. So I am also thrilled to be here. So thank you, Lauren, for reaching out and letting us give an opportunity to talk about Tech Bae, but also why we think that this is really important for women. I am currently the CTO of Odyssey. Odyssey is one of the leading audio content companies where we have radio, we have digital streaming, we have podcasting, we've got it all together. And do you know why we have all of that together? Because we are an ad-supported business, and so we've got a lot of ad tech. I'm based in the Philadelphia area and have been in the industry, always touching ad tech somehow for about 30 years.
Amazing.
I get to win the oldest on the group. But regardless, I was going to say regardless, the reason that it's so exciting to be here, especially on the first business day of Women's History Month, is because there are very few women that I don't adore, but these three represent the creme de la creme, as well as the ones that I would go to bat for any single day. And so it's going to be hard to pick who goes next, but I'm going to give it to Seema.
Lauren, thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here with you today. Seema Patel, I have been in the industry for close to 25 years in advanced advertising, data strategy, operations. In my last role, I led data enterprise at Televisa Univision. I am currently on a break, intentionally planning my next adventure, which I'm having a lot of fun doing. And, super excited to be here to talk about Tech Bae and to talk about our journey, because I think now more than ever, this community is so necessary, for the good women of our industry.
Yeah, that's great. That leaves me next. I think we're going in alphabetical order a little bit, unbeknownst to us. So Christina Barlow-Villano, I currently work for AMC Networks. It'll be a year in on April Fool's Day, which has got a kind of interesting twist to it. As Brenda was saying, almost 9 years. Wow. And all that we've done with this organization in the past 9 years, I couldn't be more proud to be sitting here with these women. I've seen them grow. I watched myself grow. We've been through a lot of battles together. And it has always come down to understanding each other and the women around us. And I think, we continue to strive to pull women together so that we can continue to rise up. And that has become more important than ever. My background is pretty versatile. I met Sarah 20 years ago, something like that. I don't know. Gosh, we look young for our age. I have done everything mostly in the ad tech space, some MarTech, but then I went and actually jumped ship and went to the mothership over at Charter and did some customer operations work over there, which was really important to kind of understand how it all pulls together. And intentionally took a break and then came upon this opportunity, which has been really interesting because it's all about transformation and how to really change how a company operates. And it's so much more about the people than anybody ever tells you. And so that has really been my biggest aha moment in this journey. And I've leaned on these women more probably in this past year than ever, and kind of getting me through the day by day. So I'm just thrilled to be here, and I just appreciate so much the opportunity, Lauren, that you're giving us to have this platform.
Thank you so much for those wonderful stories, ladies. And I have to say, I met Brenda and Seema at an industry event recently and immediately was just so engaged, obviously, by, the story of Tech Bae and like your journey. And I didn't realize it was 9 years in. So congrats. That's huge. But also just drawn in by Brenda and Seema and their passion. Like it comes across so clearly. And I think, Christina, to your point, like, you're in a transformational role, right? But like the transformation that we make within companies really has a ripple effect across industries, right? And I think when you had the opportunity to go to events like the one where I met these ladies at, but also have these conversations, you're like, oh wow, like we are kind of, impacting on a broader scale, and that feels really good. And I think as women, that's kind of part of what keeps us going too. So
yeah, Lauren, I also wanted to share, just kind of doing a quick roll call on numbers of years experience in ad tech and media. You are sitting in about 110 years of experience just within the co-founders and more, I'm sure, if we add in your experience, the institutional
100%.
knowledge.
Oh, guys, this is the wisest call I've been on.
That's it. I love it. Brenda, we can start using that now.
I was going to say, a lot to live up to.
110 years of experience. I love it.
New tagline.
I love it. Totally. Oh, that's so good. Okay, awesome. So we shared with the Tech Bae group, a few questions, but we want to keep this very conversational, and we really just want to get to know, them and what inspired them, but also like some of the lessons they've learned along the way. So without further ado, let's dive in. So Seema, the first one is for you. So what inspired you yourself and this group to start a female-focused nonprofit in the advertising technology space? First question. And then second part is, was there a defining moment in your journey that made you take this step and made you take the leap?
Great question. So a little background, Tech Bae was born actually out of an idea over drinks back in 2018, which where the best ideas are often born,
100%.
Is over drinks. We had known each other for years, at that point hadn't seen each other in a while. So we had a lot to catch up on. And it really quickly turned into an impromptu therapy session. And we realized just the act of sharing our triumphs and challenges, it made us realize that we were all experiencing similar things in an ever-changing, fast-paced business. And it gave us hope that night. It gave us strength. And we walked away wanting to bottle up what we experienced that night, but we also wanted to share it you know, we had camaraderie, we had support, we had empowerment. And so really from that, Tech Bae was born. You know, we launched this nonprofit organization. Our mission is dedicated to building a community for women in the media, advertising, ad tech landscape, mainly as a mechanism to foster meaningful connections and organic mentorship. You know, we needed it back then, and we need this community now more than ever, given all the seismic shifts and changes that are happening all around us, whether it's in our personal lives and our professional lives. We've really found that we need each other. We need the support for what's to come. And we need to remind each other that we need to do this together. And you asked about that defining moment. So for me personally, the mission's very much rooted in my hopes for the kind of world that I want my own daughters to step into. I have 2 girls. And the defining moment for me was really to try and make a difference for them and for the next generation of women that will follow us. At the time, all I kept thinking was, what am I doing to pull up a chair for those women and for my daughters? How can we harness our collective power and use it for good and the betterment of others? And so, you know, that's how Tech Bae was born. It was born out of our vision to find a way to pay it forward and to really help harness collective change.
Yeah. And I would say to also just do it authentically. I think one of the things that differentiates Tech Bae with, I think with other organizations is that we really do show up as ourselves. We've always said, if we're going to do this, we got to show up as who we are, because what's the point of getting to the finish line if, you know, you don't have those authentic efforts. And I think that is also a very important message that we want to make sure that we're sharing across our community and beyond.
That's so true. And I feel like, you know, you can feel the camaraderie across you guys, and that really probably trickles down into your community as well. Like being around people that you trust, showing up authentically, and also having fun along the way, right? Because at the end of the day, what's the point? You know, we're working so hard. Like let's enjoy it too. So
I think that's a great point, because what I have found even recently in going to other events or for organizations that have been around a long time, I have a blast when we're together, and it's not just us, all the people that, you know, our energy kind of pulls in, you know, the people Brenda pulls in, Sarah pulls in. There is an element of fun that I don't find exists in many other, you know, events and, you know, just even webinars that we do. And so that really lightens people's energy, and you know, things are heavy, right? So if you have the ability to do that just by virtue of being together, I think that alone is so important for the people around us.
Part of it too, you know, we never set out to build an organization for the sake of scale.
Totally.
It's quality. It's quality over scale. And so what we try to do is we try to bring meaningful, whether it's meaningful topics or meaningful events, or you know, we'll pull together members in smaller groups just to connect and just to network and to foster those connections between executive women and junior women. Because again, how do we help get junior women? How do we elevate them? How do we support them? How do we make sure that we keep elevating and empowering them? Well, that's by pulling them in.
Totally. And I think we also set example. So speaking of motherhood, I have 2 boys. I know, Brenda, you have a boy as well. So, you know, it's like setting the example for men, for young boys, young men as well, of like, you know, this is what a strong woman looks like, right? This is how you can support a strong woman. You know, this is how you can, you know, make your, we'll say, inclusive mark on the industry, on the world as well. So I think it spans beyond just us, right? Which, you know, makes it all more powerful.
Yeah, the ladies have heard this as my son's 15 now. And I said, it's not about women feeling empowered. I think we're there. We feel totally empowered. It's how do you teach others to know how to work, live, and collaborate with an empowered woman? And I think that also, Lauren, as boy moms, Christina's there as well. Like, I think that's the homework we have.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brenda.
Actually, we have hosted a number of co-ed events as well.
Mhm.
Oh,
because we
awesome.
can't do
Yeah.
this without the support of our allies. We really can't.
Yeah. 100%. That's great. Um, cool. So, all right. So let's go to the next question then. So, how does Tech Bae add value to the community you serve? What makes, I know we kind of talked about this, but I want to talk about like, what is your real USP, right? There's a lot of companies out there, especially in ad tech, right? I feel like every day new ones popping up, creating a bespoke event at Cannes or or advertising week or this, that, and the other. So like, you talked about intentionality and quality, but like, can you go a little bit more in the details? Like if somebody's at one of your webinars or one of your events, like what can they expect versus, kind of what has become cookie cutter in a lot of ways?
I think that's where the quality, the authenticity, and the intention of the Tech Bae organization has never wavered.
Yeah.
Lauren.
Yeah.
And so what's our unique selling proposition as a nonprofit?
Right.
But really it's the fact that we just joked about having 110 years of experience amongst the four of us. When you go out to the Bay concentric circles, whether that includes just the bays or our allies and advocates, we're now talking about hundreds of hours. We're talking about not only bringing to the table leadership capabilities, deep technical knowledge around ad tech, understanding of the pivots and changes with data, right? Those are all things that we live with on a day-to-day basis, right?
Sure.
I'm sure your consultancy deals with that too. And
Yep.
and some people can talk about those in a webinar or on a panel,
Yep.
and it's engaging and it's informative. The thing that makes a Bay event that I think is kind of the coalescence of all of those other fantastic adjectives is when you show up at a Bay event, it is gonna get effing real. It's just gonna be real. Like
Yeah.
there is no holds barred. We've never had it where someone doesn't get the real scoop, because that's who we are. That's how we show up. And that's how we expect bays to show up.
Right.
Right. And so the information always has that little bit of, well, no one said that out loud. Thank God. That's been the elephant in
Yeah,
the room.
totally.
Where nobody has
Yep.
been able to really say, as the Gen Z person in the room, how annoying the Gen Xers are, right? I mean, we're dealing with topics that are not just technical in nature, but you've all heard Brenda, Seema, and Christina talk about it's the who. And you're going into tumultuous tech. Where is AI? Where is data? Where's privacy? Where's security? Okay. Now you add into it the radically changing landscape of media.
Yes.
Whether we even take into consideration the new political climate or not. Media is going to change.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we have 4 generations all in the workforce.
Right.
And so just as much as Seema always really helps us lean into bringing people up, we just had a transition conversation, Lauren, and it was for folks that are thinking of a major pivot in their career after 15 to 30 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a whole other way of thinking about how do you show up, how do you share, how do you support, how do you advocate, and do so in a way that's meaningful at all stages of the career.
No judgment, with no judgment ever.
So it sounds like you all, by creating this environment, really attract people, right, that are ready to show up and also be authentic, right? And like maybe you're kind of like letting them dust themselves off a little bit. It's like, oh wait, it is okay to talk about this stuff again, right?
100%.
And do you feel that by doing it in a safe Tech Bae environment, they're then going back to their corporate jobs or even their home life and like, having those harder conversations about real talk, this is what it's like being a woman in tech, very male dominated field. These are some of the struggles we face every day. And I just want you to make you aware of that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you feel authentic. You feel like not only are you seen, but we all know we're best when we show up as who we are
That's
with
right.
what we do best. And so I think we create not only safe spaces, but frankly, knowledge transfer opportunities.
right.
So there's also that moment of, I know how to
Mm,
phone a friend.
yeah.
And that just
Yep.
make me again seem like, well, maybe we're not phoning a friend, maybe we're texting a friend, maybe we're chatting, right? Like, I mean, but we do that well. We help make connections.
Yeah.
And I think, Lauren, even how you started the podcast with the connection you felt with Brenda and Seema,
Yeah.
okay, you're a bae.
Oh,
Because if you feel
Yeah.
that connection, you
Totally.
automatically know this would
Right.
be a group, because that's how we have grown
That's
organically.
Yeah, and it's the power of fueling your tank. So specifically to your question, we hosted a phenomenal event with Google in April. I've had members who've attended come to me a week later, a few days later, with that filled tank, saying, I took that information. It was a lot about, data and how do you power data, and I was able to secure X, Y, and Z. I was able to help drive further insights for my organization. So think about coming to that event, and it's actually helped even propel an individual member, on that professional standpoint, or, just like being energized to kick the door down and show up authentically, like those are the things that, we love to hear. It's part of the original intention of why we, created our organization.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And I think, events that, of course, the authentic piece, but let's talk like the nuts and bolts of the technology of this industry, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're selling. But it's like the how, right? How do you show up every day? How do you sell it? How do you market it? How do you develop it? Regardless of the role that you're in. So it's great that you guys do all of that, it seems. Great. So I have another question, Brenda. I'll throw this to you. So I know you guys do, a ton of great, powerful work. I want to hear about the one, right? If you had to boil it all down to one program, one event that you've run that you all are super proud of, please share.
Yeah, I would, I would have to say it's our partnership with the Big Brother, Big Sister of New York. We launched a program that was the first of its kind in 2021. We're within COVID. We're trying to figure out, one of our core tenets is how do you support the rising stars, and how do you support it in this very difficult time in our country, and all of us sitting in our living rooms pissed off and frustrated. And so we, via a membership that Seema and I had achieved, we just reached out to Big Brother, Big Sister. They didn't know who we were. We just said we were part of this organization. We want to help. We don't have the infrastructure to take on a full mentorship, but we have an activated network. And within, I think, 15 minutes, it was late at night, Big Brother, Big Sister, their senior leadership responded, let's get on a call, let's figure this out. And we actually launched the first online virtual mentorship program, where we worked with our Tech Bae community to help drive not only mentorship, but it's for first generation college students that otherwise have the talent, but don't have that equal baseline and opportunities that other students may have. And through this mentorship, we got them each scholar on the Big Brother, Big Sister side partnered with one Tech Bae mentor. Big Brother, Big Sister facilitated the entire cohort and programming of it. And we helped each of these students not only up-level their skills, but also give them immediate and accelerated access into our industry. And so really fostering not only paid internships for these members, but also a great entry point into the ad tech and media community. So we've done 3 of these cohorts, and we're actually in the process of brainstorming the next cohort and seeing where can we take this playbook and actually bring it to more Big Brother, Big Sister opportunities. But this has been wildly successful. We were essentially the incubator partner, and Big Brother, Big Sister has been able to take this across different verticals and other organizations nationally.
Wow. Yeah. So you told me a little bit about this when I met you, and I feel like you were being
Yeah.
very humble. I didn't
Uh,
realize, how this is expanding so much. That's amazing. So talk to me about a cohort. So you said you've done 3. So what does that look like?
So it's essentially a group of Big Brother, Big Sister students. These are either individuals that are in their 3rd or 4th year in college, and then we have the same matched membership on the Tech Bae side. So because we piloted this the first time around, and we just wanted to kind of work out the kinks. The first group was anywhere between 10 to 12 students, and since then it has grown with each and every cohort, and we've even helped develop playbooks to kind of help disperse this across other affiliates of Big Brother Big Sister beyond New York City. So the program, each cohort is also around 3 or 4 months. We're playing around with what is the right timeline for each student, making sure that they still keep up with the schoolwork, but enough time to really build up those meaningful skill sets. And it's just, it's been just utterly just, rewarding. And, when you think about giving the opportunities, we talk about, well, how do we continue to support rising stars, and the opportunity to do that, not only even before their first few years in the industry, which is still very important, but kind of taking that one step further. It's just been really, really wonderful, and is an example of, us as an organization, Tech Bae, contorting our muscles. And I would say, mentorship is a very rewarding experience. But one of the things that I've personally experienced, I'll invite the rest of the ladies to share more of their thoughts. It's helped me be a better leader. Foss said this earlier. We're in a multi-generational workforce. What motivates each generation is different. And the younger generation, it's a different language, it's a different rhythm, it's a different flow. And so almost like the mentees taught me, I think, more than I was able to teach them. At least that's how it feels like, because I became a stronger leader to my younger organization as a result of that.
True.
I think that's been probably the most impactful for me just over the past probably 5 years, is understanding how important it is to give people permission to fail. And, when everything that we're talking about, and, really that's what Tech Bae is about too, is being a safe place for people to ask the questions that may not be, what you would normally ask in a meeting, or what you would normally ask, and where you would feel, less than, or, however that would make you feel in a way that is not, a way to learn. And I think, it's so important. And to Brenda's point, that's cascaded into my entire world. So everything I do, even at home, right, giving my kids permission to fail has only made them broader thinkers, safer space. I mean, it all sounds very woo-woo kitschy, but it's not. It is, this is the world that we live in. And if you don't have permission to fail, you will never reach the heights that you are really capable of reaching. And I think Big Brothers Big Sisters was such a phenomenal smash home run out of the park, and you see it with these kids. It's incredible to watch. So,
and I think that's so important too, because I feel like when I was, at that stage of, my college career, I was also first generation college student. So I took those like preparatory classes, career readiness, this and that. But I feel like it was all kind of woo woo back then too. It was part of that, but it was also like, oh, you must dress a certain way. You must do your hair a certain way. You must be buttoned up at all times. God forbid you inject your personality into that. So I feel like, that served me to a degree, maybe early on in my career, but number one, times have changed. And number two, I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like that actually doesn't serve me, right? Like I want my personality to shine, and that's okay. And it's also, to your point, okay to fail, right? Like, because what is that quote? It's like, you don't lose, you either win or you learn, right?
Yeah.
You're learning. So
True. So
The
true.
other angle too, when we were contemplating the whole program and kind of workshopping this with BBBS, was that, you know, there are so few entry points for people that are not connected in our industry, right? And so at the time when we're watching everything unfold, everything happening during that summer of 2020, we thought, well, short of going to each of our individual organizations and demanding that they not hire Bob's nephew for that internship, and they give, you know, a kid that wouldn't normally have an entry point, an opportunity, this was the only way for us to really at the grassroots level make an impact. And it was like, we have this incredible community. How do we harness this? How do we connect them with kids that could just really use a break?
Yeah.
You know, that could just use an entry point that they just wouldn't normally have.
yeah. Okay, next question. So speaking of learning, right? So we'll again ask a hard question. How do you boil it down to one, right? One lesson that you've learned across the 9 years that you feel would benefit this audience as a founder, entrepreneur, building something from scratch?
Okay, I'll start with that one. I thought about this one a lot. I'd be curious what my my sisters think. What you think is needed isn't always necessarily wanted, and vice versa. And I think we've learned along the way, just by virtue of actively listening to our cohorts and our other baes, that what they need sometimes doesn't marry up to what they think they want. And so I think we've done a really good job in trying to tune in and create programming and be very creative about, you know, what type of, not just the programming, but the form at which we hold these sacred spaces at which people can talk about these things and really kind of discover what's really important to them. And sometimes you walk away with a totally different mindset than to what you walked into. For me personally, that's been the biggest aha moment, watching that and also experiencing it myself. So I don't know if you guys would agree with some of that, but that's definitely been a big aha moment for me.
Yeah, for me, if I think about my biggest aha moment, I'd say it's being careful and intentional with who we partner with. And sometimes it means saying no if the mission is not at the forefront. You know, since we launched, we've had amazing reception and amazing partners, and, you know, so grateful. But part of that is we've also consistently focused on quality versus scale in our programming, which we talked about at the top of the podcast. But, you know, and sometimes that can be contradictory. So I think you have to really, for us, we've made it a conscious effort to really focus on partnerships and on having meaningful programming and meaningful partners
Awesome.
that are aligned with our mission.
Totally.
Yeah, I would say for me, I think Foss would love this. And I think it's double clicking a little bit what you said, Christina, too, is around like structured alignment. And Lauren, only because I'm a bull in a china shop and I'll just give the rules just to break them. But, you know, we co-founders are women with big hearts, bold minds, and strong opinions, right? And so passion drives us. I think us learning to collaborate in a way where there is clear communication and expectations across all of us, and really enforcing a more structured alignment, right? Sometimes it's not the easiest conversations, but it's the most needed because, you know, we all of us always strive to ensure that not only are we going, you know, we have to move fast because we're, you know, a pretty scrappy organization, but we want to make sure we're going far as well. So how do you do this? And, you know, we said it at the top of the conversation. We want to come in authentically, and authentically we're, you know, for very loud, opinionated, and powerful women. So how do we do this in a way that is, conducive to our mission?
Great points. Sarah, what do you think?
I was going to say, and then rounding it out, you asked earlier, Lauren, what makes it different and why Tech Bae, right? I mean, but where did it come from? And I think it's because we realized that community matters.
Yeah.
And regardless of the number of different organizations out there, they all kind of have a focus, career, tech, mentorship, right? Awards,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and yet for us, Tech Bae was all of the above, because what we missed was someone to be a group, a community of people that we could lean into when we needed cheerleading, when we needed advice, when we needed a career change, when we needed a swift kick in the ass. It didn't matter, right?
We all need that sometimes.
100%.
Yeah, it's so true.
It through the 9 years, Brenda has actually been my cheerleader. Seema has given me a kick in the ass, and Christina continues to give me good counsel. And yet, if I asked any of those teams, they would all be like, "Oh, well, I would have thought that you would have, associated different things with the different people." We're showing up because community matters, and we're here. And that's when the baes, through COVID, people would get on a Zoom and be like, "I just had a happy hour drink last week and it was so miserable, but I was waiting for this one," because that community is all of it together.
Totally.
And that's what we needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like when those days when you were happy to turn on your Zoom, you knew you were going to meet with good people, because it was like Zoom overload. Brenda, you brought up an interesting point, and Sarah, you sort of hit it home as well. Like, being a company founder is hard, right? So, I'm in the very early stages of mine too, right? And I'm, a solopreneur, as they say, but I feel like, I don't want to say it's harder, but it's a different flavor of hard when you're 4 of you together. Lots of great ideas, throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to figure out what sticks, listening to what people want, as Christina said, but trying to also give them what they need. So I give you guys a lot of kudos for like navigating that as, colleagues, co-conspirators, friends, because having those hard conversations, it sometimes can hurt relationships, right? But to see you all thriving 9 years in, you have found that secret sauce to having productive, adult, necessary conversations, right? So I think that's really admirable.
We've also been really fortunate, Lauren, in that at very different times, we all have shown up in different ways.
That's right.
And when those moments come when one of us can't show up,
that's right,
the 3 are there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that has organically just always been there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because life happens.
Totally.
Work happens. And so we've been able to kind of be like, and it's okay. Sarah needs to take a step back, but because of all of these reasons, and my 3 co-founders and sisters go, "We got you.
Yeah.
We got you." So that's where you have the other challenge of, you got yourself, except now you have the base, because we like you, Lauren, and you're
yay. Oh, love that.
Now you got us.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that kind of leads me to one of my next questions is the term work-life balance, which is I don't know. I don't love that term because I feel like it's just something that never exists, right? Like a perfect harmonious balance every day, right? But I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about this, right? Like how do you try to balance the two on a regular basis? And there's work and life, but then there's also Tech Bae, right? So how do you kind of balance those 3 to obviously, keep your life moving, supporting your family, your children, whomever, but like also, you know, supporting causes that you care deeply about. Cause I think that's really hard. And we all try to do that. And it feels like we're in a rat race sometimes doing it. So I'd love to hear how you guys,
Oh my God, I'll have to jump in because that's a trigger word for me.
go for it.
For me, it's not real, right? Like the
No.
whole work-life balance is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a myth, especially for women, right? So I think one of the things I've adopted and I've told the baes, it's like, I don't even like, it's not even a balance, just like focusing on harmony, right? And really staying in your power, especially with everything we have going on, and just aligning on the shit that matters. And I think, Christina, you said it one time, focus on the glass balls, not the rubber balls, but you have to be very honest on what that looks like.
Yes.
I wake up every day and I have to decide where I'm going to focus on. And I have to give myself the grace on making that decision, because it's not always going to be right. I think for women, and I started thinking about this ahead of the call, it's like, I think the ultimate destination is just like owning your flow and just like making it work for you. So it's like just any woman listening, just own your rhythm and just show up on your own terms. Because I think when you come in trying to strive that balance, like you're already set up for failure.
Great points.
Yeah. And I'd say that it's become even more so now. I think harder to say what work-life balance is, because we're on all the time.
Yeah.
It never stops. Someone can Slack me at 8 o'clock. A consultant can call me at 10 p.m. Like, I mean, it's just our access. And so knowing what you need and when you need it, and being able to go with the flow, right? I mean, Brenda, you talked about being in your flow. I think a lot of times also, especially for me, is when I had to lean in to these sisters more. It's because of something that happened outside of my control.
Right.
Especially in life.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know, and that just affects us. That just affects us. And we gotta have resources for that.
Well, and I mean, so many times I've leaned into all of you. And I think for me, similar to Brenda, when it comes to being a mother and a daughter and an ex-wife and a wife and a this and a that, and, you know, you have so many people pulling at you in addition to work, that you really need to build an infrastructure of self-care. And you really can't do that unless somebody reminds you, like, hey, so what did you do for yourself today? And if you can't answer that question, and these ladies have asked me that many times, and there have been times where I could not answer them, and that's a wake-up call, right? And so there's no balance trick. It's, you know, what are you choosing not to feel guilty about today? Because you're not superhuman, you know.
That's a great point. And I feel like as you sort of grow in your career, especially as a woman, you're like, what else can I take on? Right? I can do it. I can do it. But at a certain point, I think most of us kind of break and we're like, actually, I can't do it all. Real time. And then being okay with that. Like, I'm not some superhuman, like, robot machine. Like, speaking of it, like, I can't do everything. And I feel like allowing yourself to, like, so being comfortable setting and enforcing boundaries to a degree as well, which is so much easier said than done. But something I work on every day.
It's not easy.
Seema or Sarah, do you want to add anything else to that one, or you guys good?
All of the above.
I love it. Okay, so final question for everybody or whomever wants to chime in. So woman in your shoes circa 9 years ago, right? They're looking to make a wider impact outside of their day jobs. How can and should they go about doing that? Because it's not always clear. The path, right? Maybe they don't have these, you know, these wonderful sisters, and things just coalesce nicely. What can they do to sort of step out of their box and you know, build something from the ground up?
Getting involved, whether it's in your company ERGs or just activities that you're interested in or passionate about. It took me a long time in my career to because I kept telling myself, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. But if you just can carve out just a little bit of time and do things that fill your cup. So, as a family, we try to focus a lot on community service because it helps us to teach our kids to give back and become responsible citizens that care about their neighbors. It also teaches them gratitude for everything that they have. So we do a lot of this through a bunch of different organizations that we're a part of. One of them is the Neil G. Shastri Foundation. It's another nonprofit that I sit on the board, that I'm a board member of. And it was created to honor my dear friend's brother who passed away during the 9/11 attacks. And we volunteer and raise money for local community food banks. We donate books to Title III schools. And in that way, it connects us and our children to our local communities. I also co-lead a DEI committee for my younger daughter's school, which allows me to, it's amazing. And it allows me to further connect with members of our school community.
Yeah.
And so all of these things really fill my cup and keep me going and actually make me a better person, which ultimately makes me feel like I have a greater purpose. And then, when you can connect with community and when you feel like you have a greater purpose, I think that translates into leadership. You bring a more authentic, fuller, fulfilled self to work. And that really impacts how you connect with other human beings in your organization.
So well said. Anybody else? No?
If it's just on career stuff, right? I think the thing that especially we as women forget to do is, one, it's okay to ask questions and explore new ideas.
Yeah.
Two, you can really find support if you also are willing to show up for folks. And
Right.
when you have those two things together, you can explore all sorts of new ideas that might launch a pivot in a company, outside of a company. Seema has access to those resources because you have incredible connections through kids and friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we do kind of put ourselves in a box and forget that sometimes you gotta open the box and let everything come on out, as messy as that might be.
Yeah.
And having a community to help you sort through that is really where potential can become discovered, and then frankly passion can get ignited.
Yes.
Not to be kitschy, again, to quote Christina, but what you put out there comes back to you
Always.
tenfold.
You're so right. You are so right.
That with you do something just for the sake of doing good, not to get anything in return, it comes right back to you.
Yeah. Success and fulfillment follow. That's
Always.
That's the truth.
Always.
Amen, girls. That was amazing. I feel like that's a wonderful way to end. So in summary, these women are amazing. I've learned so much from you in 40 minutes. I feel like we've been chatting for hours. I would love that glass of wine right now and to keep this going. We'll have to do that in person at some point soon.
Yes,
but
please.
I feel like creating safe, authentic communities is the name of the game, right? And, Tech Bae has done such a great job at that in the Adtech community. So I hope people watching this, listening to this, are inspired by what these women have created and aren't afraid to take that sometimes scary but necessary step to provide to finding that fulfillment, both personally and professionally. Because I feel like more and more they're kind of one is what we've found from this call. So ladies, if our audience wants to learn more about Tech Bae, wants to get involved with Tech Bae, they're feeling passionate, where can they start?
Yeah, I would say look us up at techbae.com and same handle on LinkedIn, Instagram, and pretty much all the social media channels.
Amazing. We can't wait to see what programs come out next. Cool. So thank you again for joining us. And This is Lauren Burke from LJS Advisory. I'm so happy to have these wonderful women here. We have many more to come during Women's History Month, so stay tuned for that. And once again, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the day and the month.